the good life, yeah. I ain't gotta worry about a thing. Oh no. Had some obstacles I overcame. Oh yeah. You don't have to ever be the same. Oh Lord. Cause when we change the mind, we change the game. Coming through clutch. Coming through clutch. Coming through clutch. Coming through clutch.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kenneth Allen Thomas Show. We have a packed show for you guys. We have a very special guest in the building today. All right, all the way from France, all the way from France. Now, but by way of Camden, New Jersey. All right, my home girl, the one and only Miss Entrepreneur herself, Miss Entrepreneur of the Year in 2021. Yes. We have our very own Giovanni Thompson. Give it up. What's happening? What's going on with you? Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Listen, you look awesome. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
I'm kind of on my laid back guy over here looking like the pastor today. So God gonna bless us with a word today, y'all.
Yes, you know we need a word.
Yeah,
sure.
You know what I'm saying? Listen, today, everybody, we're talking about, the art of recovering from failure. We're talking about art from recovering from failure, and we're also talking about victory in defeat, right? Victory after defeat. And before we begin, here's what we want to do. We want you guys to know where you're coming from. All right, let us know where you're chiming in from. Let us know in the comments where you at. We want to shout you guys out in the chat, and make sure you guys go ahead and like and subscribe to this podcast. All right, Kenneth Allen Thomas Show. And we want to do a little test. We want to know how everybody's weekend was. Okay, we want to know how your weekend was. So on a scale of 1 to 10, let us know in the comments on a scale of 1 to 10 how was your weekend. All right, put that in the chat right now. You know what I'm saying? Let us know how it was. Let us know how your weekend was. On a scale of 1 to 10. Let us know how it's going. All right.
Sure.
While we big that up, we got a lot of people and everything in the chat right now. We got 156 people. Let's boost it up. Boost it up. Come on now.
You know what? I'm gonna start it off too. My weekend had to be a 10. My weekend was
that's
10.
awesome.
Okay.
I had, things haven't been so great for me lately, but this weekend was special. My son, he's turning 10 on Tuesday.
Happy birthday.
Tomorrow he's turning 10. Tomorrow's the 31st or is it Wednesday?
So Wednesday's 31st.
Wednesday's 31st. My son's turning 10 on Wednesday. We wanted to celebrate this past weekend and we chose to celebrate Saturday. Listen, Kenny should have went live because he was there. I was chefing it up. You can let him know.
Yes.
But my son loved it, right? He is the most appreciative kid that you could possibly meet. Like the littlest things, right? You should have saw his face when he walked in. He had an anime theme, his favorite characters, balloons everywhere, and he just lit up, man. And
I love it.
When he lights up, I light up.
Come on now.
So
say, yo, put some fire emojis for God's son in the comments. He turned 10 years old.
Gavin still. Shout out to you, Gav.
Let's go. So listen, guys. We are here. How was your weekend?
It was pretty chill.
Yeah,
it was pretty chill. Yeah, one of my first chill weekends in a long time.
Chill weekend.
Yep.
So listen, we want to know how you guys are feeling. Scale of 1 to 10. We got some zeros. That's probably like somebody that's doing the spam, but it's all good. All right, we got some zeros in here. All right, let us know how you guys are doing on a scale of 1 to 10. We always want to rate that. We always want to make sure that we are giving you guys, value. We want to make sure that we're giving you guys what you guys need in order to get to that next level. All right. It's Monday. We're starting off a new week. It's the fourth quarter. All right.
Yes.
It's the fourth quarter. Now we want to start it like this. G.
Yes.
G. Shout out to Diane from Michigan as well too. We're talking about the art of recovering from failure, and you're an entrepreneur, so you like clearly we've had some failures and everything in that regard. So I want to start it off by asking this question. What are some ways or what are some stories that you can bring us into on some things that you failed from but you actually found victory in?
Actually, I would say the last 8 months has been one of the hardest like times for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just recently had a baby who she's 18 months.
Come on,
but
not today. Let's go.
Right.
Let's go.
But when I had my baby,
Mm-hmm.
I dealt with postpartum,
Mm-hmm.
and then it came back.
Okay.
And so during the time that it came back was when, you know, the season started and all of that stuff with the basketball team. And it was really, 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 really difficult. And it was, you know, how, you know, I've always, you know, just press forward, just always making stuff happen. And when you're in a place where you feel like you can't control what it is that's going on, and then you're in a constant space of, oh, that didn't go right, that didn't go right, and it's not going right because you're not mentally in the right space. That was super, super hard for me. And so I had to just learn to really lean on God, of course, but just be content with what I've already done.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're an entrepreneur, it's always that vibe that you got to just keep pressing, keep doing this. What's the next thing? What's the next thing?
Right.
And so I was constantly in the space of chasing accomplishments. And then when I couldn't move in the same way that I was used to moving, or execute in the same way that I was used to executing, I just had to find peace in Gio. You've done this. And if you can't ever do anything ever again in the way that you've done it, you have to be at peace with what God has allowed you to accomplish this far.
Wow.
And so it kind of just changed my perspective on just being an entrepreneur, period, because I think that we put so much pressure on ourselves. And I think a lot of it comes from maybe social media and whatever, but I haven't, if you go like to back in the day when they used to like run your own race, or do your own pace. Like I just remember my grandma just having that type of vibe. But now everybody is running a race based off of what somebody else is doing, and not really feeling the peace or the confidence in their own pace and what it is that they're doing. And so now my mindset is completely different. So I really appreciated how I was able to process those failures, if you even want to call it failure, because I think that that's also maybe not the right word for what we most experience. You know what I mean?
So, maybe experience is the right word, right? And oftentimes we can look at something that we didn't maximize our fullest potential inside that particular venture that we were going towards, and we perceive it as a failure, right? We perceive it as like we didn't meet our mark, right? And oftentimes what we tend to do is we beat ourselves up over it, right? And we're like, oh man, I gotta get this right, I gotta get that right, I gotta get this right, I gotta get that right. And we don't, like you said, we don't appreciate the fact of what we have done.
Yes.
Right. So
it's like a thing of the past. It's like people don't even, I think a lot of people don't even like really sit and celebrate those things, because they're just moving so fast, and the next accomplishment in this, and they don't even have, I think that we could find a lot of peace in ourselves, in the celebration of ourselves. A lot of times we do not celebrate ourselves because we're just moving so fast, trying to get to what we think is the goal, or what it is that we feel is worthy of celebrating. You know what I mean?
So in the comments, everybody that's watching right now, I want you guys to put in the comments, celebrate yourself. All right? Put that in the comments right now. Celebrate yourself. Celebrate what you have accomplished so far, because that's the thing. We can oftentimes get so caught up in the fact that, you know, what we haven't done, that we're not even appreciating what we have done. Right. Like if you bought a house, celebrate that. If you bought a car, celebrate that. If you got out of the hood, celebrate that. You know what I'm saying? Like celebrate those things, because they matter. Don't worry about what, you know, the cliche thing is, right? The cliche of, I got to get that Rolls Royce, so I need that Fenty bag or whatever. Like celebrate the fact on where you're at, because you never know what tomorrow may bring. Right.
I think there's a piece in appreciation, right? Like you said, appreciating yourself and appreciating where you've been, where you've been to where you are, right? Not so much where you're gonna go. God will take care of the rest. But where you are, there's a piece in that appreciation. And then in the word it says, "Be still," right? And so there comes a time where you don't have to chase and chase and chase. Just be still and appreciate where you are and where God has you at that particular time.
And even with like me dealing with postpartum, like during the time I was dealing with postpartum, I probably got the most awards ever.
Mm.
I got the Hall of Fame. I got Entrepreneur of the Year, all of this stuff.
Right.
And I wasn't even in a space to be able to celebrate it, because on the flip side, I'm trying to celebrate just getting out of the bed.
Right.
Because it was that, you know what I'm saying? So I had to really like even forget about all that big stuff. Sometimes you can be to the point where you have to just be thankful that you're able to get out of the bed or just be able to, you know what I mean?
Right.
Be able to push forward through the day. So that's what also shifted my mindset. Like you said, the appreciation for the smaller things.
Yeah.
Because our minds have been so programmed, just focus on the huge things. But those small things, they mean so much, especially when you are in a different space.
Yeah.
Right. I think being thankful that you even woke up, right? Because Kenny just said, tomorrow may not come, right? So you have to appreciate today. You know, losing people throughout my life, losing relationships throughout my life, having regrets and things. You can't live there. You have to appreciate where you are, because tomorrow is not promised, right? You have to live for today.
Amen. I think that when my son was fighting cancer, I think back to that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it, to most people, it may seem like, oh man, like my son has cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But we just experienced it.
Right.
We didn't receive it or anything like that. We were on some like, okay, we're going to go through this. We're going to push this thing to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things that people can take with them that, you know, they may perceive as a failure, but how can they turn it into a victory? Like, what did you do to turn, you know, your situation from postpartum and everything into a victory?
Because I just kind of just took in the space that everything that I'm experiencing, if I believe in the plan of God, everything that I'm experiencing is a part of the bigger goal that He has for me. So I'm always like, my whole story is really in regards to just like impacting women and taking what it is that I've dealt with and looking at anything that I've experienced that may not have been as pleasant or hard or whatever, and looking at the kind of like the silver lining in it, knowing that my experience can help somebody else.
Yeah.
So when I was dealing with postpartum, you know, I was kind of like, I was in a place where I had to get on medication, like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I had to just say, yo, you're going to be able to take this experience, because this is not like your whole life, and be able to help another woman. Because especially with me being in a male dominated industry, having kids and all that is not even a thing. Like they don't want to hear all that. You got to work, you got to do this, you're running your company, you're doing all this stuff. And then to be in a space where you have dealing with the new baby and postpartum on top of that, it was really like, I didn't really have an outlet. So now that I've gone through it, I want to make sure that I'm taking my experience and helping people. So just look at it as if it's just a part of the bigger picture.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because
like the whole bigger picture idea I love. We tend to look like, okay, we're seeing what's in front of us.
Right.
But we're not seeing, you know, everything that's on the outside.
Right.
Like if we're, because we're so close to what it is that we want, but if we back up just a little bit, we can see the entire thing. Right. So in your journey, I'm gonna scroll back a little bit. Okay. So we was talking earlier. Now you're from France. Well, you was born in France. Okay, but by way of Camden. Right. Your dad was a pro basketball player.
He was.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So he was nice then. Right.
Yeah,
he was nice. He was all right.
Shout out to Dad.
Right. So in terms of, did you learn your entrepreneurship skills from your dad? Did you how did that come about? Like,
both of my parents were really dope entrepreneurs. When they were married, you know, they accomplished a lot of things, had a lot of businesses, and they always just pushed the envelope and going outside of the norm. So I believe at some point that was planted in me. And I just always had that type of mindset since I was young.
Right.
I really don't know anything else.
Yeah.
The mindset was never to work for someone else. If I could it was never like, you know, I had like a dream of being a surgeon at one point in time, but outside of that, it was always like, you know, whatever it is you want to do, you can do it. This is what we're doing. You know what I mean? It was just always that. So that's what it's always been.
Guy, you
and
ever
my parents
had
are awesome.
Like guy right now, yo, you know what I'm saying, is widening his horizons even more. I'm not gonna say too much, but guy, like in your experiences, because you've worked with other entrepreneurs, you've worked with people, at BET and stuff like that, and things on that level, like, and you've experienced failure, in the entertainment industry, right? What are some things that people can take from, the failures that you've seen and how they can overcome it?
I think that, leaving
one
that.
second. Vanilla Sky, we're going to answer your question in a minute. All right.
I think leaving that season or that profession behind, right? Like Gio said, I wouldn't call it failure. I would call it a lesson, right? I think what I learned and what the viewers can take with them is putting your faith above your fear, right? So that goes for business, that goes for relationship, that goes for life. Right. There were several things that brought me back to the city. I was in New York, red carpets, traveling on the company's dime and everything. Came back to the city, looked for some opportunities in Philadelphia. They weren't as accessible. So I started in youth development and I've been there in that profession for about 16 years now, right? But just having those experiences, and people still tell me, you need to go back into television. I'm like, my time is not. You know what I mean? That time is done. That season is over. But I think it was faith that took me through, right?
Wow.
Faith in that there was something bigger planned, right?
Yeah.
And so even going through certain things now in my life, taking that faith and those things that I saw of the past and using it now to drive me through to that light at the end of the tunnel.
There is a lot of faith talk in this conversation, y'all. There's a lot of faith talk. Listen, I'm going to say this. In Vanilla Sky, we're going to answer your question in a second. I said this earlier. I was talking to my homegirl, Thai Body Champ, and I mentioned these words. You got to have faith from a distance, right? You got to have faith from a distance. So oftentimes when we say the word faith, right, people, relate it to religion and relate it to God and stuff like that, right? And even those that don't believe, you have faith as well too. Whether you want to say it or not, you do, right? It's just a fact, because at the end of the day, you have some form of faith that you're going to wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. You got some form of faith that you're going to get in your car, you're going to go to work, and everything's going to be fine. You're going to get to your destination.
Right.
That is faith, right? We need to take this word. When we say faith from a distance, we're talking about seeing something that is not necessarily physically in front of us. Right. But we know that it's there on the other side. But here's the thing. We have to put forth not just the faith aspect of things, but you got to connect it with effort. Right. And you got to connect it with commitment. Right. So my new book that's coming out. Shout out to my new book that's coming out.
Shout out to the new book.
Pre-order that book, y'all. Pre-order that book. Okay. Pre-order the book. Nobody is coming to save you. It's coming out August 31st. It's coming out this week. I'm gonna get you a copy.
Thanks.
Right,
Go get it.
I gotta get you a copy.
Go get that. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing. In one of the chapters, I speak about this. I say, effort is not enough. Effort is not enough. And especially when you're being an entrepreneur, listen, effort is not enough. Nobody wants to hear that you just tried.
No, not at all.
Right? Try, yes. Good attempt.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what's going to be the result? What is going to be the end result of what it is that you're trying to accomplish?
Right.
We only say we get to a point, and this is where failure comes into play, where I tried it. Oh yeah, that was cool. Right. Like, I'll just go do something else. But you didn't finish the job. You didn't finish going in. You never committed to it in the first place. So why'd you do it? Right. I want to get to this question right here. Vanilla Sky says, how do I get away from the mindset of killing myself? Wow. So let's dive in. Let's dive in on that.
So I think that the idea of wanting to harm yourself or to just do anything that is the opposite of good, I think that it first starts in the mind.
Right.
And the word talks about just constantly renewing your mind. And the way that you do that, I think that it's using your words.
Right.
And I think that it's super, super important for people that are dealing with mental health issues for them to affirm themselves. And I had to do the same thing. Like, even if you have to literally look yourself in the mirror and combat every single thought that comes in your mind.
Right.
So if the enemy says, oh, you need to kill yourself. You say, no, I need to live. God gave me life and he gave it to me abundantly, you know, and you just continue to combat because I feel like that a lot of times when people don't just understand like how words are just attached to this, your spirituality. And I just feel like that you have to take control of what it is that's in your mind. And it doesn't matter what medication you're on or what the psychiatrist or therapist says, if you're not taking control and taking the just dealing with the fortitude to just be able to combat, it's still not going to work.
It's I say it like this. I say this all the time. Y'all see me online saying it. When we change the mind, we change the game.
That's it. I strongly believe in it.
Vanilla Sky, if you listen, you have to commit to changing the mindset first.
Yes.
Well, right.
You got to commit to
that. Commit word is like super.
Yeah.
A lot of people skip that part.
Yeah. Right. You have to commit. You can't say, okay, I'm just going to change my mindset. No, you got to commit to that thing. The second that you commit is the second that things change. The second that you make a decision is the second that things change. Right. Okay. The second that you sit there and say, you know what? I have life. I have breath for a reason. I'm not going to harm myself. I'm not going to bring myself to this. These voices have no place here in my mind. When you decide that and you put that force field up around it, yo, it's game time, man. Right. You got to start finding what is your actual purpose. Somebody out there right now is listening and they're like, yo, listen, I don't know my purpose in life.
Right. So
what am I here for? And then they have these thoughts that come into their mind. And this conversation just took a wild turn, right? But they have these thoughts that come into their mind and they say, you know what? I don't know why I'm here. What is my purpose? I'm going to tell y'all this. The thing that you cannot stand the most is more than likely the problem that you're supposed to solve. The thing that you can't stand the most is more than likely the problem that you are supposed to solve, which then in turn turns into your passion and your purpose.
Let me dig into that a little bit, right? When you have feelings like that, and I'll, be transparent, say, things like that have crossed my mind throughout the years, right? In rough seasons. And you said the thing that you hate the most, you said?
The thing that bothers you the most, like in the world. Right?
Like so when you have those types of thoughts, sometimes it's yourself that bothers you the most because you feel unworthy. You feel, it's a deep sadness and that anxiety and depression set in. And those thoughts do definitely set in. But somebody told me this. Somebody said, your mind is like a hard drive. So if you fill it with those things that are positive, that are true, that are joyful, that are purposeful, those things about yourself that help you to feel like you are somebody.
Right.
Those are those preliminary steps to helping you shift your mind.
I like that. But let me push it back a little bit, right? We all know that life is about patterns.
Right.
Okay. So for every problem, there's a solution. Right. But the solution wouldn't be taking yourself out.
Yeah.
Because if it's you that if you are the one that is bothered by you the most, right, then you fixing that part of you, okay, is you saying, okay, I'm going to fix this. This is probably where I'm supposed to go. But now, once you do that, you then turn that into, well, how many other people feel like this?
Right.
Right. And then when you figure that part out, like, okay, like a lot of other people feel the same way that I do. Okay, so now let me take the same method on how I help me and turn that into helping other people.
Right.
You
there's purpose. And
right.
Right there is the purpose.
Right.
So your story and what you've gone through is not going to end with you. The importance comes in who you can help outside of yourself that's dealing with the same things.
Doing the same thing. So for those young women, those young entrepreneurs out there, those young women, not even entrepreneurs, maybe they're just women in general, right? That are mothers that are fighting, out there right now, what they may be having these same type of thoughts, right? And they may be saying, you know what, I cannot do this by myself anymore. And they may say to themselves, like, you know what, it's a wrap, forget it, I'm done. Right? What do you say to that mom that maybe she's a wife, maybe she's a single mom, like whatever situation that she's in, you know, what type of inspiration can you give them? Because they may be in the same season right now. They may be dealing with the postpartum right now.
Right. What I can say is, number one, in regards to, and I talk about this in my book some, with me going from teen mom to CEO, the way that I survived is I had to go against the stigma of what people thought that a mother was, or what people thought that a woman was, or a CEO was. Because if I think a lot of women, they feel the pressure because they're living up to what they think their husband should be, or their mother, or their father, or society. And you really honestly have to walk your path that works for you. So I constantly just tell, like, if we were to let go of those type of pressures and say, you know, I love being a mom, but this is what works for me. You know what I mean? And so, like, for instance, when I was dealing with the postpartum, if I couldn't do it, I wasn't about to beat myself up that I couldn't get the kids to school. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not going to die. Just missing 2 days of school or whatever in order for me to get my mind together. Because what was most important is that I put myself in a position to be available to them, not for them to go to school. And you know what I'm saying? Not for them to miss 2 days of kindergarten. You understand what I'm saying? But for a society, or from another standpoint, from maybe other people's viewpoint, school is what's most important. And I had to make the decision that I was okay with making the decision that was better for me, because if I'm at my best as a mother, then that's what's most important. Not if they miss school, or if they miss basketball practice, or whatever the case may be. So I think that what my goal is to really, really push that to women, because it's so much pressure. Like, I listen to women's stories all the time, and I mean, it's just like a ridiculous amount of pressure. And a lot of it, we could, if we're okay with dealing with not being understood, then I think that we could take away, like, you know, some of the pressure.
See, that's good right there, right? Like, I oftentimes say, seek to understand before seeking to be understood, right? And many times we can lose ourselves in that aspect, always trying to be understood.
You know? I had to let that go. I don't care. If you don't get it, like, you know, I'm looked at, I guess, probably like a little radical and you know, like that, but I, you know, I'm trailblazing, so I'm not expected to. I'm peculiar. I don't want no normal people to understand what it is that I'm doing. So I had to let that go, because a lot of times, like, especially when I became like a CEO, oh, you have to be like this way when you go in the meeting, or you have to present yourself in this way. No, I have to present myself as me, because it's me that got me here.
That's right.
Me being something else. You know what I mean? So I think it's super important, especially for women. Like, I just keep preaching this, like, you have to do what's better for you, especially as a mother, because you have to be, they're dependent on you. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that people understand how important it is for a mom to have mental stability. And I'm talking about even in a household with a husband. I mean, you're married. If she's fried, everybody's fried. If she's fried, everybody's fried. So with that person being that nucleus, you have to allow them to do what it is that they need to do to be able to stand in that. And I don't think people understand that.
You know, I think what's big about that is you're basically saying it's okay to not be okay, right? And then when you're not okay, what you did was, it was phenomenal. You didn't stay there. You understand what I'm saying? So it's okay to not be okay, but don't stay in the not okay but for so long, because there's things to do and there's people depending on you. And yes, there's a pressure, right? But there's a light at the end of the tunnel, like you talked about. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I get that. And it's like, when my wife is like, has had it, it's like, yo, shut the work down. Ain't no work getting done today. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not happening. I'm not even probably going to eat And so this is resolved.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Fortunately, me and my wife don't take so long to resolve it. But still in all, like it's a pressure, right? Even as a man, right? Let me say this. Even as a man and being a husband, like this is like one of the hardest jobs in the world, because you're not just a husband, you're not just a father, you're not just a man, you're not just a man of God. Like you're all these things at the same time, right? And on top of that, trying to put your family in another position, right, better than where they're at now is an immense amount of pressure,
right?
When the odds are pretty much always stacked against you, but don't nobody want to hear all of that. They want results at the end of the day. And the type of pressure that men feel, and I know that there are some men out there that are feeling this, that are afraid to say it, like yo, it's all right, bro, like it's cool to say that, yo, I got pressure right now.
But that's the thing. We got to make that cool.
Right.
I think that especially in the minority community, it's such you can't say I'm not cool or I'm not okay, or, you don't feel it's no welcoming for that. It's like, what you mean? Something wrong with you? Like, you know what I mean? Even when I dealt with my situation, it took months for my family to understand what was going on. And by the time they understood what was going on, it was like, crazy. You know what I mean? So it was just like we have to make that cool.
You gotta make it cool. I think that saying that and just saying like, listen, it's not corny to feel vulnerable when it comes to your mental health, yo. It's just not corny to me. Like that's the word. I get that in some instances for a man, vulnerability may be perceived as a weak thing, right? But I'm gonna be honest, like I've been very vulnerable, on social media. I've been very vulnerable with my children, with my wife, and letting them know, like, listen, this is what's popping right now with me. Because how can people actually know or understand or have any type of empathy, if they don't know, if you're not vulnerable?
Right.
And I'm not saying go on a tangent and like dish your feelings out all the time. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying, if something is seriously going on, you got to be okay with just peeling back for a second, be like, yo, hold up, let me just scale back, because everything is not right. I got to get things in alignment. And if I'm a quarterback of a football team or a point guard for a basketball team, I got to scan the court. I got to scan the field. I got to see what the defense is trying to do so I can set my team up and make the right play. And you can't do that if you're not being vulnerable. You can't do that if you're being, Mr. Tough Guy, Mr. Tough Gal.
Right.
You can't do that. You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree.
Yeah. I think that I'm going to push back just a little bit, right? I do agree. Normalize transparency.
Right.
Normalize.
There it is.
Normalize vulnerability.
Right.
Normalize it. Agreed.
Right.
I've had many experiences where that kind of like works against me, right?
And it is
because I've become, let's just say that, because I wasn't when I was younger, I've become very transparent, right? Sometimes too transparent. Some to some, like you said, that's like a weakness, right? Like, why you sharing all your feelings, and then you lose the control, as you started off the conversation, of how you're perceived, right? And so the only way I push back on that, while I do agree, sometimes it has worked against me in the way that people perceive or mistake your kindness for weakness, and you open up and they have your life or your thoughts or your feelings in their hand, your heart, you're giving it to somebody else, right? And so I do agree that we need to normalize being transparent and normalize being open and honest, because that is important in being able to just be ourselves.
Right.
And I think it's like a freedom in that. So like, even though I've been in that position that you're talking about, I'm content in the freedom of me walking away and being myself.
Yeah.
No matter if you try to harm me or use it against me,
right,
or whatever. So that's where I had to kind of continue just to still do it, because I realized that even if I wasn't transparent or 50% or 20%, you're still you, and you're still going to operate in the way that you operate.
Yeah.
So either you're going to use the 10% against me, or you're going to use the 100 that I gave you.
Yeah.
But you're still going to operate in however you're going to operate. So that's how I kind of had to just be content with it.
Amen.
Like I had to be content with it.
I want to switch gears here a little bit, y'all.
Okay.
Where, inside this, the art of, recovering from failure, let's switch it from a relationship standpoint, right? From a relationship standpoint, we've all experienced some form of failure, right? And how has it been for someone to recover from that? For me personally, like I've dealt with where I was divorced once. You know what I'm saying? I was divorced once, and to be totally transparent, we had a child that was, biologically not mine. Now I found out like 2.5 years into the marriage that she wasn't biologically not mine. I'm like, oh wait, hold up. Like that's
a lot.
And it's like, but everyone was saying, Kenny, you shouldn't be with this girl. And we don't listen, right? We don't listen to what the outside is saying because we're so caught up in the love. We're so caught up in this, so caught up in that, where it's like, dang, I played myself almost, and I felt that I played myself, because it was like, yo, I fell for it. And I knew I shouldn't have, but I did it anyway. And not only that, I invested my time into raising a child that wasn't mine. Like, that's a hurt piece for, any man that is dealing with that, that's a hurt piece. But I found, triumph inside that trial that I went through. And knowing that I was still alive, knowing that I still have breath, knowing that, there is something better out there for me, and that God is going to bless me. I'm now on my 5th kid, that is coming, and I have a beautiful wife, a beautiful family, you know what I'm saying? Right. And I love it now. But it was one of those things that you have to like really dissect. Have you guys ever dissected the defeat or the failure?
Absolutely.
In what way? Like, yeah, I know I tossed it up there.
Well,
I'm gonna let you take this one.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to relationships, me being such a I don't know what the word is, but not a man eater, but you know what I mean? I'm just a strong female. I don't necessarily feel like I have successful relationships because some things I'm just not willing to bend on. And because those things have got me to this point, so it doesn't make sense for me to go in the opposite direction. So I've had a lot of failures in regards to relationships, but I had to find. So what I've been doing now at 37 is taking all of those things that I didn't do right, or what I thought was like the end of the world, like having a baby with a guy and then not, family wise, your parents are like, what the freak are you doing? Then you have another baby. What the freak are you doing? You know what I mean? But I had to allow that to be a part of my journey, me being a teen mom. You know what I'm saying? I thought that, that would have been the guy I would have been with, you know what I mean? But taking that part of my story, and then me dealing with an abusive relationship, taking that part of my story, you know what I mean? And adding to who it is that I am as a woman, and then pulling back with those, swinging it around with the failures and being able to help women and say, yo, don't do that. Oh, do this. Don't, you know what I mean? That's why I feel like failure is not the right word. You know what I mean? Because
it's such an experience.
It's really more like an experience about the journey. Because if I feel like if I didn't have those experiences, I wouldn't be able to sit here and say, yo, I'm ready to be a wife. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So
Are you ready to be a wife?
I am.
Okay.
I am. Because you want to hear about?
You want to hear those things. You want to hear those things. Go ahead.
No, because I've just learned about the difference between my mission and what God's mission is for me. I really feel like that he has created women to be wives and to be helpmates. And I have to learn to turn GO to CEO off when it comes to a relationship with a man. If I really feel like that God is going to bring the husband, then he knows how I am. He knows what it is that I need. So I have to be able to believe that this man has everything that I need to be able to lead me, the CEO. You know what I mean? So I had to learn that. I wasn't like that all the time, but I'm there now where I understand that it's not important that I'm Gio the CEO. What's more important to me is that I'm Giovanni the wife, because that's what God honors. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
I learned. I think the place you're in is great. The reason I threw that up there is because I feel like to know that you're ready to be a wife is to know yourself. Like have a clear understanding of who you are. And who God's making you, creating you to be. I am still in the stage of finding myself. And so I threw that out there because as much as I tell people all the time, I've had success in every other part of my life. Academically, master's degree, professionally, I've traveled the world and I have a crazy network of entrepreneurs and politicians and everybody, right? And socially, I'm just like a social butterfly, and I surround myself with great people. But companionship, partnership, relationship is the one thing that I find that I have not been as successful at in my life, right? So I pursue that, but to pursue that, you need to know yourself. And I think right now is where I'm getting to the point where I'm finding myself, right? And finding that while I may be ready for something like that, there are things that come with that, right? There are spaces and there are spaces that you need God to fill, before you get to that point. So
I think that society pushes the love factor on us too soon. Right. At very, very young ages, it's like kind of like a setup where, okay, at 10 years old, you're going to do this. At 15 years old, you're going to experience this. At 20 years old, you're going to do this. At 25, this, and then 30, and then 40. Whereas instead of allowing us to grow organically, right? Think about it. Inside the womb, it is organic when a mother is, birthing a child. This is the most organic part of your life. Because nobody is telling you that you have to do this and have to do that, that you should do this and you should do that. It's when we're born that we are groomed into having to be this person that we're not ready to be. Right. Being the husband that you're not ready to be, being the mother or the wife that you're not really ready to be. Like you haven't even learned yet. Your brain is not even developed fully until you're like 25, 30 years old. Right. How can someone actually comprehend what a wife really is or what a husband really is if they haven't really developed what that means, in God's eyes? You know what I'm saying? And from a biblical standpoint, we are the bride. You know what I'm saying? We are the bride, and how do we connect that if we don't take the time to actually connect it? Right. But we're so pushed to seeing what's happening on TV, seeing what's happening in the world, that it blows my mind on how we come to this point where at 25 years old I want to have X, Y, and Z. Yeah, maybe in 1940. Right. Maybe in the 1800s. Don't necessarily have to do that. Right. I think we've advanced enough where you don't have to go that far that quick. And on top of that, in my personal opinion, I think from a maturity standpoint, a lot of people are not mature enough to even get married. Right. Because the rate is like 50% of marriages end up in divorce. Okay. So if that's the case, when you look at that, you should be saying to yourself, am I really ready for this? I think people don't question themselves enough.
No. They don't question themselves about anything.
Right.
You know?
Right. I think for me, it's a little different, right? And I'm not going to say it's because, you know, Black, Hispanic, or minority, right? We don't see enough of these successful relationships and marriages, long-standing, right? I didn't as a kid.
Yeah.
And it always
there's like no example, right?
And it always made me want it. Even now at 40, like I said, I've been established and accomplished in many different areas, and I have never had that example to set myself up for, like, to learn from and glean from. Don't get me wrong. There are seasons, right, where we see these couples, because I'm privy to a couple old Hispanic couples that's like ride or die, but you know, from the island, from Puerto Rico, that's ride or die, right? And I'm like, y'all want that, but I want it because I never seen it, never had it, never, you know. I my family is full of divorce, it's separation, and you know, so and again, it's not because I won't just limit it to minority, but I personally have always wanted that nuclear type of thing, because I never saw it, never had anything to bounce off of. And now that it's not like that, you know, I look forward to building a family with someone, right? Something that it can be as close to it as I possibly can get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
absolutely. I think that when we grab a grip on who we are and who we want to be, right, I think that's when things start to make a lot more sense, right? But we got, going back to the beginning of the conversation, we got to be committed to that.
Right.
Can you be committed to yourself before you're committed to someone else?
That's the thing.
Right. There it is.
Can you be committed to yourself before you are committed to someone else? Because if you're not committed to yourself, there ain't no way that you could be committed to anyone else.
Anybody or anything.
Right? You got to be committed to your own personal growth, so that, because it's not 50-50 that's going in. This is 100.
It's 100.
Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I go as far as 1,000. Like, everything that you got to make sure that. And for one thing, for me and Josie, it was, I knew that this was the one for me. Like I knew for a fact. I'm like, man, she's sleeping with me in a little cubicle room on a twin mattress. Oh yeah, you the one. You know what I'm saying? You the one. You riding like all the way. We go from a twin mattress to an apartment to a 3-bedroom house. You know what I'm saying? And now on the rise or whatever, like going for our next, you know, home. You know what I mean? To go to expand and go bigger. And it's just like those types of things I take hold to because they remind me of my mother. Right? They remind me of my mom. They remind me of, you know, what my mom and my father went through. I mean, they're not together no more, but it reminds me of the things that they went through and how they developed and got to another level. But the one thing that we both did is that we put God in the mix.
Right. And
that was the key. That was the key component to everything, was that God was in the mix from the rip. And if he wasn't in the mix, then this would never work. I've never been with someone this long. Right? I've never been with anybody this long. Me and Josie's been riding together almost 9 years. I've never been with somebody that long before. Right? It would always be like a 2-year, 3-year, pushing it to 4 years, about that. Right? But other than that, it, like, all my relationships was like that. So when it came to Josie, the difference was that God was in the mix.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm here to tell anybody, and she's sitting there throwing up the kiss emojis, you know what I'm saying? Love you, boo. You know what I'm saying? Like, the thing is that when you have God in the mix, a threefold cord is not easily broken.
Not at all.
Because when you don't have God in the mix, right? And you can go to all 50% of those marriages and everything and look and see, like, well, what was the problem? Well, you know what? Then maybe God really wasn't in the mix to begin with. Was God really in the marriage? That's like the first question that I would ask. Was God really in the marriage fully? Because if so, if I know God, the one that created you, the one who knitted you together, you know what I'm saying? His band is pretty strong, and it's hard to break that.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to tap in on that real quick, y'all. You know, put that in there. We got about a couple of minutes left, but I want to talk about the victories.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about these victories. I want to talk about how we are, after the experiences, right, we go into victory, and oftentimes say, we should be fighting from victory, not to victory. I got that from my man Pastor Jay. Like, fight from victory, not to victory. G, when you hear that term, fighting from victory, not to victory, like, what comes to mind?
What really comes to mind is really like that word commitment is just still sticking with me, because I feel like every day is a fight, whether it's spiritual or physical. So I feel like that there are always victories. Meaning, like, if I'm going to the next day and I made it to the next day, then there's a victory there, regardless of if I accomplished something or whatever the case may be. So it kind of goes back to what it was that I was saying. Like, there is always something to be grateful for, to appreciate.
That's right.
To be, you know what I mean? So I just want to just kind of create myself in a mindset of always being victorious.
That's
I'm
right.
victorious because I got here.
Come on now.
And I didn't get in a car crash, or I didn't do this. You know what I'm saying? So if we kind of, if we just shift our mindset to putting everything that is completed under the category of victory, you know what I'm saying? Because even the smallest things, if we successfully sit down here and have a meal,
right,
and you don't choke, or you know what I'm saying, like that's a victory, things, because we feel like if we don't experience it, then it doesn't happen.
Right.
But so we don't see the blessing in it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you never get hit by a car, then you don't appreciate not getting hit by a car.
Right.
But God protected you from not getting hit more times than you could probably ever imagine.
Absolutely.
So we have to that's what I think of, just about always being in a constant state of victory.
Right. And here's let me put something else on it. Right. And everybody that's listening, check this out. And Matt, you can put my camera on right here. Check this out. Listen, y'all got to understand the breath of life. Okay. And when we talk about the breath of life, I'm talking about each and every human being on average breathes at least 23,000 times just in one day. Right. Look that up. I want you to take 23,000. I want you to multiply it. I want you to multiply it by how many days that you've been living. And that's how many blessings that you've been getting in just one area of your life, and you not even know it.
Right.
Right. We take breathing for granted.
That's 23,000 victories.
23,000 victories just in one day. One day. You think about that, right? And when you take it from a totality of how many days that you've been living,
right,
that right there is something to behold, because that when you start to think like that, like, dang, God, I'm not even counting the fact that how many times I get to blink, how many times I get to walk.
How can you be in a state of failure if you won 23,000 times today?
Exactly my point.
You understand?
Right.
Like,
yes.
So you're winning.
Come on now.
You're winning.
You gotta understand that you guys are winning. Yeah.
And you really have to think that detailed, because that's how detailed God is.
Yes.
Like, you really have to be that detailed, because
yeah. And let me put some more sauce on it, because it's like, look, when you I'm gonna give y'all a little exercise real quick before we shut it down. Check this out. This is what I want y'all to do. Okay. I want everybody to take a notebook out tonight. Okay. And I want you to write down every single win that you had today. Right. No matter what it was, small wins, big wins. Yeah, I mean, I want you to write down every single win that you had today. And then on the other side of the paper, I want you to write down every loss that you had today. Okay. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to do this exercise for 30 days. Commit 30 days. And I want you to write down every single win and then every single loss that you had for the day. What you're going to end up seeing is you're going to total all the wins on August 29th, August 30th, or whatever, September 1st, whatever. You're going to total up all the wins to the end of the month. Then I want you to total up all the losses at the end of the month. I guarantee you will have more wins than losses on your win-loss column. Okay. And then you're going to average that out, and you're going to be like, wow, like, I'm winning 85% of the time.
Right.
I'm winning 90% of the time.
So you can't be down in the dumps if you win 85% of the time. Yeah. So it's just so important. Like you just said, your mindset is so important. If you wake up with that mindset, it's no way that the things that we're boggled with or weighed down will be able to win.
Yeah.
Because you're automatically going into it like I'm already victorious because number one, I woke up.
That's right.
That's number one. And I think people always skip that. There is a blessing in that because I just thank you for waking me up for another chance to get it right.
Get it right.
That's powerful.
Another chance to get it right. That is my first thing that I say when I wake up every morning. I thank you for another chance to get it right because I know yesterday I may have did but the fact that you allowed me to wake up again and be able to get it right, that is a blessing for you to even give me that type of leeway.
And that right there is that vulnerability that you were talking about. Being vulnerable with God is amazing because like you said, I might have missed the mark. And most times we miss the mark, right? I definitely missed the mark over and over and over again. But every day is filled with new blessings and new grace for us to do it again.
Amen. With that being said, everybody, this has been an awesome conversation. G, listen, I'm gonna let you take us home real quick. You know what? We oftentimes do a question for the people, you know, and we ask what type of, if you have 8 billion people listening to you right now. So we're post-COVID, right? If you had everybody in the world listening to your words, what type of inspiration would you give them, you know, to move forward going from today into tomorrow and beyond?
So I'm going to always say what I always say. It is so important that you lock in with God and let go of the stigmas and the things that boggle you down on a day-to-day. It's so important that you get locked in with him and make sure that you guys are on the same page. Because if you are locked in with him, it doesn't matter what anybody else has to say. And I just think that that's just super important. Please just run your race. Just run your race. Stay in your lane. Do what it is that is in your heart. Because I'm a strong believer that whether you believe in God or not, that he still deposits things into people's heart. And everybody has a plan and a purpose, regardless of when they figure it out or if they believe that everybody has a plan and a purpose. So just really follow that. And do not get distracted by the things around you.
Amen to that. Listen, everybody, when we change the mind, we change the game. This is what I want you guys to do. Go ahead and pre-order the new book. All right, pre-order the new book. Nobody is coming to save you. How to lead through a storm. I'm telling you, it's going to bless you guys. I will be back live probably this Wednesday. All right, I was make sure you guys that are in the community go ahead and check that out and see when I'm going to be live again. I'll make sure I post it for you all, and we'll be live. We're going to do some inspirational talk this Wednesday. All right, so if you're watching this on a post live stream or wherever you're watching this on Anchor or Spotify, you know, go ahead and make sure that you like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Guys, we are over 270,000 subscribers. Let's keep going. We're on our way. We're on our way to 1 million. We're on our way to 1 million. It's going down. All right. Listen, so make sure you guys go ahead and do that. And listen, go ahead and help us elevate the channel by donating at least $5 or more. You can do that to via Cash App or via Venmo. You go ahead and drop $5 in. It goes to our channel to help us grow, to help us bring you guys more guests, more people, more inspiration, more motivation, more information that you guys need so you can get to the next level in your life, in your true purpose, and what it is that you are called to do in this world. Now, with that being said, all right, listen, y'all. All right, like I always say, yesterday is gone, tomorrow will worry about itself, and today is all we have. And today is all we have. You make sure you impact today the best way you know how. As for me, guys, still, I guess Giovanni Thompson. G, where can they find you at?
You can find me on Instagram at GeoSoGlobal. You can find me on my team page at Kennith Monarchs. Oh, and make sure that you purchase my book on Amazon.
There you go. Get that book.
She is King. It is all about my perspective and going from a team mom to a CEO. Yeah. Just giving the jewels to the young ladies out there.
She's a CEO of a league, of a basketball league, of a whole basketball team. I forgot to even mention that, but we're gonna get you back on. We're gonna talk about that a little bit more. You know, for all those who like to hoop a little bit.
Yes.
All right. So listen, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Appreciate you coming on. When we change the mind, y'all, we change the game. All right. Yesterday is going to my word by self, and today is all we got. We'll see y'all later. Live beyond measure. Peace.